The medical research station floated quietly in space, far from Earth. Inside, Taeyang Kim wiped down the counter in the lab for the third time that day. He was nervous. Today, someone very important was coming to the station. Someone who might die if they could not help her. Taeyang was 28 years old and worked as a medical technician. His job was simple. He cleaned equipment, prepared samples, and helped the doctors with basic tasks. He was not a scientist or a doctor. He was just a regular human doing his best to help others. The research station was a special place. Humans and aliens worked together here, studying medicine and biology. Most of the aliens were much smarter than humans. They had better technology and lived longer lives. Humans were considered weak and unimportant in the galaxy, but they tried hard to learn and contribute something useful. Dr. Mirai Huang rushed into the lab. She was Taeyang's boss and one of the few human scientists on the station. Her face was tight with worry. "They will be here in 10 minutes, she said quickly. "Princess Nari is very sick. The Valorian doctors have tried everything. Nothing works. This is their last hope," Taeyang nodded. He had heard about Princess Nari. She was the youngest daughter of Emperor Daehyun, the ruler of the Valorian Empire. The Valorians controlled a huge part of the galaxy. They were tall, elegant beings with pale blue skin and silver eyes. They were also very proud. For them to ask humans for help meant they were truly desperate. "What is wrong with her?" Taeyang asked. "They call it energy sickness," Dr. Huang explained. "Her body cannot regulate its own energy properly. It is like her cells are fighting against each other. She is in constant pain and getting weaker every day. If we cannot help her, she will die within weeks." Taeyang felt a weight in his chest. He did not know how humans could help when advanced alien medicine had failed. But he would do whatever he could. Soon the main doors opened. A group of tall Valorian guards entered first. They wore dark armor and carried weapons that hummed with energy. Their faces were cold and watchful. Behind them came more doctors and attendants. Finally, Princess Nari appeared. She was young, maybe in her early 20s by human standards. But she looked fragile and tired. Her silver eyes were dim, and her pale blue skin had an unhealthy gray tint. She moved slowly, supported by 2 attendants. Even in her weakened state, she carried herself with dignity. The Valorian chief physician, a stern-looking male named Kyung Min, spoke to Dr. Huang in their language. Taeyang could not understand the words, but he could hear the frustration in the physician's voice. After a moment, Dr. Huang turned to her team. "They want us to begin immediately," she said. "We will run our standard tests and see if our equipment shows anything different than theirs." The team went to work. Taeyang prepared the scanning equipment, while other technicians set up monitoring devices. Princess Nari was helped onto an examination table. She winced as she lay down, clearly in pain. For the next hour, they ran test after test. Taeyang stayed in the background, handing tools to the doctors and making sure everything ran smoothly. He tried not to stare at the princess, but it was hard not to notice how much she was suffering. Then something went wrong. One of the scanning machines began to spark and smoke. An alarm sounded. Taeyang rushed forward without thinking. The machine was overheating and could explode if not shut down quickly. He reached for the emergency switch. At the same moment, Princess Nari tried to sit up, startled by the alarm. Taeyang's hand accidentally brushed against her bare arm as he lunged for the switch. The contact lasted only a second, but in that second everything changed. Taeyang felt a strange tingling sensation run through his hand and up his arm. It was not painful, just odd, like a mild electric shock. He pulled his hand back quickly and hit the emergency switch. The machine powered down with the dying whine, but he barely noticed. Everyone in the room was staring at Princess Nari. She was sitting upright now, her eyes wide with surprise. The gray tint in her skin was fading. Color was returning to her face. The monitoring equipment began beeping rapidly as her vital signs changed. The Valorian physicians rushed forward, shouting in their language. Princess Nari looked down at her arm where Taeyang had touched her. Then she looked up at him. For the first time since arriving, her silver eyes were clear and bright. "The pain," she whispered in accented English. "It is gone. How?" Before Taeyang could answer, the Valorian guards grabbed him. Their hands were rough as they pulled him away from the princess. One of them pressed a weapon against his back. "What did you do?" the guard demanded in harsh English. "What weapon did you use?" "Nothing," Taeyang said, his heart racing. "I did not do anything. It was an accident. I just touched her." Impossible, Physician Kyungmin said, studying the monitoring equipment with disbelief. Her cellular energy levels are stabilizing. The pain markers are dropping. This should not be possible. Dr. Huang pushed forward. Wait, let him go. He is telling the truth. He did nothing but touch her. There was no weapon, no device, just physical contact. Princess Nari raised her hand, silencing everyone. Release him, she commanded. Her voice was stronger now. He speaks the truth, I felt it. When he touched me, something changed. The chaos inside me calmed. For the first time in months, I can think clearly. The guards hesitated but obeyed. They released Taiyang, though they kept their weapons ready. Everyone stared at him like he was some kind of mystery they needed to solve. Taiyang rubbed his arms where the guards had gripped him. He had no idea what had just happened. He was just a technician. He cleaned equipment and ran errands. How could his simple touch do what the best alien medicine could not? Physician Kyungmin spoke rapidly into a communication device. Within minutes, more people arrived. Scientists, security officers, and high-ranking officials crowded into the lab. They all wanted to see the human who had somehow healed the princess. Then the crowd parted. A figure entered the lab and everyone immediately bowed. Taeyang did not need to be told who this was. Emperor Daehyun had arrived. The emperor was tall and imposing, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to pierce through everything they looked at. He wore elegant robes marked with symbols of power. His face was stern but not cruel. Right now it showed only one thing, desperate hope. He walked straight to his daughter. Nari, he said softly, is it true? Are you well? She smiled at him. It was a weak smile, but genuine. Father, I am better. Not cured, but better. The human. He did something. I do not understand it, but it helped. Emperor Daehyun turned to look at Taeyang. His gaze was intense and calculating. Taeyang felt very small under that stare. What is your name, human? The emperor asked. Taeyang Kim, your majesty, he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Taeyang Kim, the emperor repeated slowly. You have done something today that the greatest minds in my empire could not do. You have given my daughter relief from her suffering. I do not understand how, but I will find out. He turned to his physicians. Begin a full investigation immediately. I want to know exactly what happened here, and I want to know if it can happen again. Then he looked back at Taeyang. You will stay on this station. You will cooperate fully with the investigation. Do you understand? It was not really a question. It was an order from an emperor. Taeyang nodded. Yes, your majesty. I will help however I can. As the emperor turned away to speak with his advisors, Dr. Huang moved close to Taeyang. She whispered, What have you gotten yourself into? Taeyang had no answer. He looked at Princess Nari, who was being examined by multiple physicians. She caught his eye and gave him a small nod of gratitude. In that moment, Taeyang realized his life had just changed forever. He was no longer just a simple medical technician. Somehow, through an accident, he had become important, and he had no idea what that would mean for him or for humanity. The investigation was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same. For 3 days, Taeyang barely slept. Scientists from across the galaxy arrived at the research station. They all wanted to study him. They took samples of his blood, measured his brain activity, and scanned every part of his body. They asked him the same questions over and over. How did you do it? I do not know. Did you feel anything unusual? Just a tingling. Like a small shock, can you do it again? I do not know. I did not try to do it the first time. Dr. Huang worked alongside the Valorian physicians. She looked tired but excited. This was the biggest discovery of her career. Maybe the biggest discovery in human history. Every test revealed something new and strange. On the 4th day, Dr. Huang called Taeyang into her office. She looked serious. We found something, she said. Something incredible. She pulled up images on her screen. They showed complex diagrams of cells and energy patterns. Taeyang did not understand most of it. All living things create bioelectric fields, Dr. Huang explained. It is how our cells communicate and function. Every species has a different frequency. Different patterns, she pointed to one of the diagrams. Most alien species have similar patterns. Their frequencies are close together. They evolved in similar conditions across the galaxy. But humans, she paused. Humans are completely different. Different how? Taeyang asked. Earth is unique, she said. Our planet has more diversity than almost anywhere else in the galaxy. Millions of different species, all competing and adapting. Humans evolved in this chaos. Our bioelectric frequency had to be flexible, adaptable. It does not match any other species exactly. And that is good? Taeyang asked, still confused. Dr. Huang smiled. It is amazing. Princess Nari's illness is caused by her energy system getting stuck in a bad pattern, like a machine that keeps making the same error. Valorian medicine cannot fix it because their technology works within the same frequency range. It is like trying to restart a computer with the same broken code. She pulled up another image. But when you touched her, your different frequency acted like a reset button. It forced her system out of the bad pattern, gave it a chance to stabilize. Taeyang stared at the screen. So, humans can heal aliens because we are different? Yes, Dr. Huang said. And not just Valorians. We tested the theory with samples from other species. The human bioelectric signature can interact with almost any alien biology. We are like a universal adapter. The weight of this discovery pressed down on Taeyang. For years, humans had felt inferior in the galaxy. Weaker, less advanced. Now they were learning that their differences made them special, maybe even necessary. There is a problem, Dr. Huang added, her smile fading. The effect is temporary. What do you mean? Princess Nari is getting worse again. The healing lasted about 70 hours. Now her symptoms are returning. Without regular treatment, she will be back where she started within days. Taeyang felt his stomach drop. So it did not really work. I just delayed the problem. No, Dr. Huang said firmly. You gave her relief. You proved it is possible. Now we need to find a way to make it permanent, or at least sustainable. Before Taeyang could respond, the door opened. Emperor Daehyun entered with several guards. Dr. Huang immediately stood and bowed. Taeyang did the same. The emperor looked tired. Lines of worry marked his face. You have heard the news, he said. It was not a question. Yes, Your Majesty, Dr. Huang replied. We were just discussing it. Emperor Daehyun turned to Taeyang. His silver eyes were intense. My daughter is suffering again. The pain has returned. I am told you can help her, but only through direct contact. Is this true? Taeyang nodded. I believe so, Your Majesty, but I do not fully understand how it works. I cannot promise it will help permanently. The emperor was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke carefully. I am asking you to stay. To treat my daughter regularly until we find a permanent solution. This is not an order. I am asking as a father, not as an emperor. Will you help her? Taeyang did not hesitate. Yes, I will help in any way I can. Relief flickered across the emperor's face. Thank you. You will be given quarters near the medical bay. Whatever you need, you will have it. High physicians will work with you to develop a treatment plan. He turned to leave, then paused. Taeyang Kim, you are saving my daughter's life. I will not forget this. Neither will the Valorian Empire. After the emperor left, Dr. Huang let out a long breath. Do you understand what just happened? An emperor thanked you, a human. This is unprecedented. Taeyang felt overwhelmed. I am just trying to help someone who is sick. That is all. It is never just that simple, Dr. Huang said quietly. But I am proud of you. You are doing the right thing. The next day, the treatment schedule began. Taeyang was brought to Princess Nari's private medical suite. It was much more comfortable than the lab. Soft lighting, pleasant colors, and medical equipment that looked elegant instead of harsh. Princess Nari sat in a comfortable chair by the window. She looked pale and tired again. The temporary healing had faded, but she smiled when she saw Taeyang. Hello, Taeyang Kim, she said softly. Thank you for coming. Your Highness, he replied, bowing slightly. He felt awkward. He was not used to talking with royalty. Please just call me Nari when we are alone, she said. We are going to be spending a lot of time together. Titles seem unnecessary. Physician Kyungmin was there too. He explained the procedure. Taeyang would place his hands on specific points on Nari's arms and shoulders. The contact needed to last at least 5 minutes for the bioelectric exchange to work properly. They would do this twice a day. The first session was strange. Taeyang felt nervous touching the princess even though it was medical treatment. But as soon as his hands made contact, he felt that tingling again. Nari gasped softly, then relaxed. It is working, she whispered. I can feel the pain fading. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Then Nari spoke again. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you agree to help me? You do not know me. I am not even your species. My father offered you no reward. Yet you said yes immediately. Taeyang thought about it. Because you are in pain. Because I might be able to help. That is enough reason. Nari looked at him with surprise. That is all? No political reason? No desire for wealth or status? No, Taeyang said simply. Where I come from, we are taught to help others when we can. It does not matter who they are. Nari was quiet for a long moment. That is beautiful, she finally said. In Valorian culture, everything has a price. Every action has a purpose. The idea of helping someone just because they need help. We have forgotten that. The session ended. Nari's color was better. She could sit up straighter. The relief on her face was clear. Thank you, Taeyang, she said. You have given me something I thought I had lost forever. Hope. Over the following days, the sessions continued. Each time, Taeyang and Nari talked more. She asked him about Earth, about human culture, about his life. He found her curious and intelligent. She was not just a pampered princess. She had studied science and philosophy. She cared about her people. But while Taeyang focused on helping Nari, he did not know about the growing storm around him. News of the human healing ability was spreading across the galaxy. And not everyone saw it as a gift. Some saw it as a threat. Others saw it as something to control and use. In the shadows of the Valorian court, powerful people were making plans. Plans that would put Taeyang and all of humanity in danger. The discovery had been made. Now came the difficult part. What would the galaxy do with this knowledge? And could one ordinary human survive what was? 3 weeks passed. The treatment was working. Princess Nari grew stronger each day. She could walk without help now. The gray tint in her skin was gone. Her silver eyes sparkled with life again. She laughed more often. She even started joining the research team meetings, contributing ideas and asking sharp questions. Taeyang was happy to see her recovering. But he was also exhausted. The sessions happened twice every day without fail. Each one drained him a little. Not painfully, but he could feel his energy being used. Dr. Huang monitored him carefully and made sure he ate well and rested. During the treatment sessions, Taeyang and Nari talked about everything. She told him about growing up in the palace, about the pressure of being royalty, about her dreams of exploring the galaxy as a scientist instead of just a princess. He told her about Earth, about his small apartment in Seoul, about his parents who worked in a factory and were proud that their son worked in space. One day, Nari said, "You talk about them with such love. Your parents, even though they are not wealthy or powerful." Taeyang smiled. "Power and wealth do not make someone worthy of love. They worked hard their whole lives so I could have opportunities. That makes them the richest people I know." Nari looked thoughtful. "In my world, love is often conditional, strategic. Parents love their children if they bring honor to the family. Friends are chosen for what they can provide. I have never heard someone speak of love so simply." "That sounds lonely," Taeyang said quietly. "It is," she admitted. "But talking with you, I understand there might be another way to live." Their friendship deepened. Taeyang stopped seeing her as a princess and started seeing her as just Nari, someone smart and kind who had been dealt a difficult hand in life. She stopped seeing him as a strange alien and started seeing him as someone who genuinely cared about her well-being. But not everyone was happy about this growing bond. In the Valorian court, whispers spread. Some nobles were uncomfortable seeing their princess become so close to a human. Others were angry that humanity suddenly seemed important. For centuries, Valorians had been the dominant power. Now they needed help from a species they had always considered inferior. Duke Jihoon was the loudest voice against it. He was a military commander, tall and broad even for a Valorian. His family had served the Empire for generations. He believed strongly in Valorian superiority. One evening, Duke Jihoon requested a private meeting with Emperor Daehyun. They met in the Emperor's study aboard the royal ship that orbited near the research station. "Your Majesty," the Duke began, bowing formally, "I must speak plainly. This situation with the human is becoming dangerous." Emperor Daehyun looked up from his desk. "My daughter is healing. How is that dangerous?" "The human himself is not the danger," Duke Jihoon said carefully. "But what he represents is." News has spread across the galaxy. Other species now know that humans possess this unique ability. They will want access to it. Some will try to take it by force. The Emperor frowned. We can protect the humans. We have the strongest military in the galaxy. With respect, Your Majesty, that is not the only issue. The Duke leaned forward. Humans are becoming valuable. Too valuable. Right now they are weak and scattered. But what happens when they realize their worth? They could demand anything from us. They could refuse to help unless we give them power, territory, resources. Taeyang has asked for nothing, the Emperor said firmly. He is one human, a naive one at that. But his leaders are not fools. They will use this discovery to elevate humanity's status. We must act first. What are you suggesting? The Emperor's voice was cold now. Duke Jihun chose his words carefully. We should study more humans. Understand this ability completely. If we can replicate it or control it, we maintain our position. If we leave it in human hands, we give them leverage over us. You want to experiment on them, the Emperor said flatly. I want to secure our empire's future, the Duke replied. Your daughter's life was saved by accident. We cannot rely on accidents. We need control. Emperor Daehyun stood up. No, I will not authorize forcing humans into experiments. Taeyang helped Nari willingly. We will continue to work with humans as partners, not as subjects. Duke Jihun's face hardened. You are making a mistake, Your Majesty. A mistake that will cost us. That is my decision. You are dismissed. The Duke bowed and left. But as he walked through the ship's corridors, his mind was already working. The Emperor was blinded by gratitude and sentiment. He could not see the bigger picture. If the Emperor would not act, then others would have to act for him. Back at the research station, Taeyang knew nothing about this conversation. He continued his routine. Morning session with Nari, lunch with Dr. Huang, afternoon session, then dinner and rest. His life had found a strange new rhythm. One evening after a session, Nari asked him to stay longer. Walk with me, she said. I have been cooped up in medical rooms for too long. They walked through the station's observation deck. Through the large windows, stars spread out endlessly. It was beautiful and humbling. Do you ever feel small? Nari asked. Looking at all of this? Always, Taeyang said. But I think that is good. It reminds me that no matter how important we think we are just tiny parts of something much bigger. I wish more people thought that way, Nari said quietly. She turned to face him. Taeyang, I need to tell you something. There are people in the court who do not want you here, who see you and your people as a threat. He felt a chill. What kind of threat? They fear what they cannot control. My father supports you, but his support has limits. If the nobles push hard enough, he might be forced to act. I wanted you to know, to be careful. Taeyang nodded slowly. He had suspected something like this. Political power always came with danger. Thank you for telling me. I will be careful. Nari placed her hand on his arm. It was a gesture of friendship, but also connection. You saved my life. I will not let them hurt you. I promise. Her words were sincere. But neither of them knew how hard it would be to keep that promise. That same night, in a private facility far from the research station, Duke Jihun met with several other nobles. They gathered in secret, their faces grim. The Emperor refuses to see reason, the Duke told them. He is too soft, too grateful to think clearly. Then what do we do? Asked another noble, a female named Lady Bora. We act without his permission, Duke Jihun said. We capture human subjects. We study them. We learn how to replicate or control their abilities. Once we have that knowledge, the Emperor will see we were right. That is treason, someone whispered. No, the Duke said firmly. It is patriotism. We are protecting our empire. History will judge us as heroes. The nobles looked at each other. Slowly, one by one, they nodded in agreement. When do we begin? Lady Bora asked. Duke Jihun smiled coldly. Soon, very soon. We have already identified targets. Human researchers on several stations, including the one treating the princess. He pulled up a holographic display. Images appeared showing various humans, including Dr. Huang, and at the center an image of Taeyang. This one especially, the Duke said, pointing to Taeyang's image. He is the key. Once we have him, we have everything we need. The conspiracy was set in motion. Forces were being gathered. Plans were being made. And Taeyang, sleeping peacefully in his quarters, had no idea that danger was coming for him. The storm was about to break, and when it did, nothing would be the same. The attack came in the middle of the night. Taeyang was asleep in his quarters when the alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed through his windows. He jumped out of bed, his heart pounding. He rushed to his door, but it would not open. The lock was jammed. Through the small window, he could see smoke in the corridor. He heard shouting, weapons fire, people running. Someone was attacking the station. Taeyang grabbed his communication device and tried to call Dr. Huang. No response. He tried the station security. Nothing. All channels were blocked. Then his door exploded inward. 3 figures in black armor stormed in. They moved fast and professional. Before Taeyang could react, one of them hit him with something that sent electricity through his body. He collapsed, muscles seizing. Target acquired, one of them said into a communicator. Moving to extraction point, they dragged Taeyang out into the corridor. Through his blurred vision, he saw other soldiers moving through the station. They were grabbing human researchers, forcing them into transport pods. Dr. Huang was being carried by 2 soldiers. She was unconscious. Taeyang tried to fight, but his body would not obey. The electricity had left him weak. They threw him into a pod with 3 other humans. The door sealed shut. Through the small viewport, he watched the station grow smaller as they were taken away. His last thought before passing out was of Nari. Was she safe? Did she know what was happening? When Taeyang woke up, he was in a cell. The walls were white and bare. A single light glowed in the ceiling. He sat up slowly, his head pounding. His arms and legs ached from the electric shock. The cell had no windows and only one door. He tried it, locked, he was trapped. Time passed. He had no way to tell how much. Eventually the door opened. Duke Jihoon walked in, flanked by 2 guards. "Good morning, Taeyang Kim," the Duke said pleasantly. "I apologize for the rough treatment." "But you understand. We needed to move quickly." Taeyang glared at him. "Where am I? Where are the others? What do you want?" "So many questions," the Duke smiled. "You are in a secure facility. The other humans are safe for now. As for what I want, that is simple. I want to understand your ability. I want to know how you heal." "You could have just asked," Taeyang said. "Could I?" The Duke raised an eyebrow. "Would you have agreed to extensive testing? Would your leaders have allowed it?" "No. They would have demanded conditions, payments, protections. This way is cleaner." "This way is kidnapping," Taeyang said angrily. "The Emperor will not allow this." "The Emperor does not know yet," Duke Jihoon said. "And by the time he finds out, we will already have what we need. He will understand that it was necessary." "You are wrong," Taeyang said. "He trusted you. So did Princess Nari. This will destroy that." The Duke's face hardened. "The princess is young and naive. She does not understand what is at stake. But I do. The Empire must come first, always." He turned to leave. "We will begin testing tomorrow. I suggest you cooperate. It will be easier for everyone." The door closed. Taeyang was alone again. Back at the research station, chaos reigned. Station security had arrived too late. The attackers were gone. 7 human researchers had been taken, including Taeyang and Dr. Huang. Princess Nari stood in the destroyed medical bay, her face pale with fury. She had been in a different section of the station when the attack happened. Now she stared at the empty room where Taeyang should have been. "Find them," she commanded the security chief. "I do not care what it takes. Find them now." "Princess, we are trying," the chief said nervously. "But whoever did this knew our systems. They blocked our sensors and communication. They were professional." "Then they were Valorian," Nari said coldly. "Only our military has that training." The security chief said nothing. They both knew what that meant. Nari activated a communication panel. "Get me the Emperor, now." Minutes later, Emperor Daehyun's face appeared on the screen. He was in the middle of a council meeting. "Nari, what is wrong?" "The station was attacked, Father," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "They took Taeyang. They took the human researchers. It was a coordinated military operation." The Emperor's face went pale. "When?" 3 hours ago. "I need your help. I need military support to find them." Emperor Daehyun nodded grimly. "I am sending ships immediately. We will find them." He turned to someone off screen. "Summon Duke Jihoon to the council chamber now." There was a long pause. Then a voice replied, "Your Majesty, the Duke is not responding to summons. His ship left orbit 2 hours ago. Destination unknown." Nari and her father looked at each other through the screen. They both understood. "He did this," Nari whispered. "That traitor took them." Emperor Daehyun's face was like stone. Lock down all military facilities. Find Duke Jihoon's ship, and prepare my personal guard. I am coming to you. Father, Nari said urgently, we need to move fast. Who knows what he is doing to them? I know, the Emperor said. His voice was cold with rage. Duke Jihoon has made a grave mistake. He thinks he is protecting the Empire, but he has committed treason, and he has hurt someone under my protection. He will pay for this. The screen went dark. Nari stood alone in the ruined medical bay. She thought about Taeyang, who had shown her what kindness meant, who had saved her life without asking for anything in return. Now he was in danger because of her world's politics. She would not let him down. She would find him, and she would make sure Duke Jihoon answered for his crimes. In the secret facility, Taeyang was taken to a laboratory. The room was filled with medical equipment, much of it intimidating. Valorian scientists in white coats surrounded him. They strapped him to a chair. We will begin with basic scans, one of them said. Try to relax. This will not hurt. But Taeyang saw the needles, the probes, the monitoring devices. He knew this would be far from comfortable. These were not healers. They were researchers who saw him as a puzzle to solve. As the machines hummed to life around him, Taeyang closed his eyes. He thought about home, about his parents, about the simple life he used to have. He thought about Nari and hoped she was safe. Most of all, he thought about surviving, because somewhere deep inside he believed that rescue would come. He had to believe that. It was the only thing keeping him from despair. The testing began, and Taeyang gritted his teeth and endured. 4 days passed in the facility, 4 days of constant testing. Taeyang was exhausted. They took blood samples, ran electrical tests through his body, measured his bioelectric field 100 different ways. The scientists were thorough and relentless. He was kept separate from the other human captives. Sometimes he heard Dr. Huang shouting from another room, demanding their release. Her voice always sounded strong. It gave him hope. On the 5th day, Duke Jihoon visited again. He looked pleased. We are making excellent progress, the Duke said. Your bioelectric signature is fascinating. So different from anything we have seen. My scientists believe they can replicate it within weeks. And then what? Taeyang asked tiredly. You will let us go? Eventually, Duke Jihoon said. Once we have secured the knowledge. You understand? We cannot risk you telling the Emperor what happened here. At least not yet. He already knows, Taeyang said. Nari will have told him. The Duke waved his hand dismissively. The princess suspects, but she has no proof. And even if the Emperor believes her, finding this facility will take time. Time we are using wisely. But the Duke was wrong. At that very moment, Valorian warships were closing in on his location. Princess Nari stood on the bridge of her father's flagship. The Emperor was beside her, his face grim. Around them, officers worked at their stations, tracking signals and scanning for the hidden facility. We found it, one officer reported. A private military station in the Outer Rim, registered to Duke Jihoon's family. It matches the energy signature from the attack. How long until we arrive? The Emperor asked. 2 hours, Your Majesty. Nari clenched her fists. 2 more hours? She prayed they were not too late. Prepare the assault teams, the Emperor ordered. I want those humans recovered safely, and I want Duke Jihoon arrested. Father, Nari said quietly, let me go with the assault team. He looked at her sharply. Absolutely not. You are still recovering, and it is too dangerous. Taeyang saved my life, she said firmly. I will not hide here while others risk themselves to save him. Besides, I am stronger now, strong enough to do this. Emperor Daehyun studied his daughter. She had changed in the past weeks. Grown stronger, yes, but also more confident, more sure of herself. He saw determination in her eyes that reminded him of himself when he was younger. Very well, he said finally. But you stay with the command team. You do not enter the facility until it is secured. Understood? Nari nodded. It was enough. Back in the facility, alarms suddenly blared. Duke Jihoon rushed to the control room. His officers were shouting, screens flashing red. What is happening? The Duke demanded. Imperial warships, sir, an officer reported, his voice shaking. Multiple vessels. They are demanding our surrender. Duke Jihoon felt ice in his veins. How did they find us? Unknown, sir. But the flagship is here. The Emperor himself is leading them. The Duke's mind raced. This was not supposed to happen. He needed more time. Just a few more days and they would have everything they needed. Activate the defense systems, he ordered. We can hold them off. Sir, that is the Emperor, the officer protested. If we fire on Imperial ships, that is open rebellion. We are already past that point, Duke Jihoon snapped. Do as I command. In his cell, Taeyang heard the alarms. He heard shouting and running footsteps. Something was happening. Something big. His cell door opened. A guard rushed in. Come with me now. Why? What is going on? The guard did not answer. He grabbed Taeyang's arm and pulled him into the corridor. They moved quickly through the facility. Taeyang saw other guards moving the human prisoners. Everyone looked panicked. Then the facility shook. An explosion. The lights flickered. The guard stumbled and Taeyang broke free from his grip. He ran. He did not know where he was going, but anywhere was better than staying with the guard. He found a stairwell and climbed up. Behind him, he heard more explosions. The attack was intensifying. He reached what looked like a main corridor. Through windows, he could see space. And ships. Massive warships with Imperial markings were firing on the facility's defenses. They had come. The Emperor had found them. Taeyang felt hope surge through him. But it was quickly replaced by fear as another explosion rocked the facility. He needed to find the other humans. They needed to stay together. He ran through corridors, dodging debris and panicked facility staff. Finally, he found them. Dr. Huang and the other researchers were huddled in a storage room guarded by two confused-looking soldiers. Taeyang, Dr. Huang shouted when she saw him. The guards raised their weapons, but before they could act, another explosion threw everyone to the floor. When Taeyang looked up, the guards were unconscious, trapped under fallen debris. Come on, he shouted to the others. We need to find somewhere safe. They ran together, 7 humans trying to survive in a facility that was tearing itself apart. Imperial forces were boarding now. Taeyang could hear fighting in the distance. They found what looked like an emergency shelter. It was a reinforced room with basic life support. They sealed themselves inside and waited. Outside, the battle was brief but intense. Duke Jihoon's forces were no match for the Emperor's elite troops. Within an hour, the facility was secured. Imperial soldiers moved through the corridors, arresting anyone who resisted. Princess Nari entered the facility with the second wave of troops. She wore light armor and moved with purpose. Her only goal was finding Taeyang. Spread out, she ordered the soldiers with her. Find the human prisoners. They should be somewhere in the detention area. They searched room by room. Finally, a soldier reported finding a sealed emergency shelter with life signs inside. Nari ran to it. She manually opened the door override. The door slid open. Inside, 7 humans stood ready to fight or flee. Then they saw Nari, and Taeyang saw her. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Nari smiled, relief flooding her face. You are safe, she said softly. It is over. We found you, Taeyang felt his knees weaken. They had survived. They were safe, thank you, he said. Thank you for coming. Nari stepped forward and placed her hand on his shoulder. I made you a promise, she said. I do not break my promises. Behind her, Imperial soldiers began escorting the humans out. Dr. Huang was crying with relief. The others looked exhausted but grateful. As they walked through the damaged facility, Taeyang saw Duke Jihoon being led away in restraints. The Duke saw him too. Their eyes met briefly. There was no anger in the Duke's face now. Only resignation. He had gambled and lost. Outside, the Emperor waited in the docking bay. When he saw his daughter and the rescued humans, his stern face softened slightly. Taeyang Kim, he said formally. On behalf of the Valorian Empire, I apologize for what was done to you and your people. This was a betrayal of trust. It will not be tolerated, Taeyang bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. For coming for us, the Emperor nodded. Come, let us return home. You have all been through enough. As they boarded the flagship, Taeyang looked back at the damaged facility one last time. He had survived. They all had. But he knew this was not truly over. What Duke Jihoon had tried to do represented a larger problem. A fear of humanity's growing importance. That fear would not disappear overnight. The real work was just... The rescue made headlines across the galaxy. The story of Duke Jihoon's betrayal and the Emperor's swift response spread everywhere. But more importantly, it sparked a conversation. What should be done about humanity's unique abilities? How could different species work together fairly? 2 weeks after the rescue, A massive gathering took place on the Valorian capital planet. Representatives from dozens of species arrived. Human leaders came too, uncertain but hopeful. This would be the first major interspecies summit focused entirely on cooperation, rather than territory or trade. Emperor Daehyun stood before the assembled delegates in the Grand Hall. Princess Nari sat at his right side, and surprisingly Taeyang was there too, sitting with the human delegation. "We gather today because of a failure," the emperor began. "A failure to trust, to communicate, to see others as partners rather than resources." Duke Jahoon's actions were his own, but they revealed a deeper problem in how we view each other. He gestured to Taeyang. "This young human saved my daughter's life through simple compassion. He asked for nothing, expected nothing, yet some of my own people saw him as a threat, as something to control." The emperor paused, letting his words settle. "I propose a formal alliance, not one based on power or dominance, but on mutual respect and protection. Humanity has gifts that can help many species, but they deserve safety and autonomy in return." A delegate from the Krillian Empire stood up. The Krillians were an insect-like species, logical and direct. "What guarantees do humans offer? How do we know they will not use their abilities as leverage against us?" The human representative, Ambassador Jiwon Park, rose to respond. She was an older woman, experienced in diplomacy. "We offer the same guarantee we ask for ourselves. Good faith. We will help those who need healing, but we will not be forced or coerced. We ask only to be treated as equals, not as tools." Another delegate, this one from the aquatic Siltari people, spoke up. "And if there are not enough humans to meet all needs? My people suffer from a similar energy imbalance. Will we be denied help while others receive it?" This was the difficult question. There were billions of beings in the galaxy who might benefit from human healing, but only a few million humans. Princess Nari stood. "May I speak?" Emperor Daehyun nodded. Nari stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "I was dying," she said simply. "No amount of wealth or technology could save me." Then a human touched my hand by accident and I began to heal. Not because he was ordered to, not because he expected reward, but because it was the right thing to do. She looked around the hall. "We cannot demand this from humans. We can only ask, and we must be willing to give them something in return. Not payment, not control, but partnership. They have shown us what we have forgotten, that sometimes the greatest strength is simply caring about others." The hall was quiet. Many delegates looked uncomfortable. Her words challenged everything their cultures had built on, but others nodded slowly, thinking. Then Taeyang stood. He had not planned to speak, but something made him rise. "May I say something?" he asked quietly. Emperor Daehyun smiled slightly. "Please." Taeyang walked to the center of the hall. He felt hundreds of alien eyes on him. He was just a medical technician, but he had something to say. "I'm nobody special," he began. "I am not a leader or a scientist. I clean medical equipment and help doctors with simple tasks. But I learned something these past weeks. I learned that being different is not being weak." He looked at the various delegates. "Humans have always felt small in the galaxy. We do not have the best technology. We are not the strongest or the smartest, but we have something else. We have each other. We learned to work together because we had to. We learned to care for each other because survival depended on it. Maybe," Taeyang continued, "that is what the galaxy needs now. Not more power, not more control, but more cooperation, more caring. We will help where we can, but we need your help too. We need protection. We need respect. We need to be seen as partners, not resources." He paused, then added, "Princess Nari said it best. The greatest strength is caring about others. If we can all learn that, maybe we can build something better than what we have now." Taeyang sat down. His heart was pounding. He had just addressed leaders from across the galaxy, but he meant every word. The delegates began to talk among themselves. Some looked skeptical. Others seemed moved. It would take time to work out the details, but something had shifted in the room. Then something unexpected happened. The Siltari delegate who had asked the difficult question earlier stood up. She bowed toward Taeyang and the human delegation. "I support this alliance," she said. "The Siltari people will offer protection and resources to humanity. In return, we ask only for fair consideration when medical help is needed." Other delegates began to stand. One by one, species committed to the alliance. Not all of them. Some left the hall unwilling to accept humanity as equals. but more than half stayed and agreed it was a start. A real start. That evening, there was a celebration, a formal dinner where all the delegates could meet and talk in a more relaxed setting. Taeyang found himself surrounded by aliens asking questions about Earth and human culture. It was overwhelming but exciting. Princess Nari found him on a balcony taking a break from the crowd. The capital city spread out below them, glowing with lights. "You did well today," she said, joining him at the railing. "I just told the truth," Taeyang replied. "Sometimes that is the hardest thing to do." Nari looked out at the city. "You know, when I was sick, I thought I would never see this view again. I thought I would die young, never having really lived. You changed that." "We changed it," Taeyang corrected. "You fought to stay alive. You fought for the Alliance. I just helped a little," Nari smiled. "You are too humble, but I have learned that is a human trait." They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Then Nari spoke again. "The treaty will be signed tomorrow. After that, what will you do? Will you stay and continue medical work? Or will you return to Earth?" Taeyang thought about it. "I think I will stay for a while. There is so much to learn, so many people who need help. But eventually I want to go home, see my parents, tell them about everything that happened." "They must be very proud of you," Nari said. "I hope so. I want to make them proud." "You already have," Nari said firmly. "You saved a princess. You helped forge an alliance, and you showed an entire galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. That is something to be proud of." The next day, the treaty was signed. The document was long and complex, covering everything from medical protocols to legal protections for humans working across the galaxy. But at its core, it was simple. A promise to work together, to respect each other, to see value in differences rather than fear. Ambassador Park signed for humanity. Emperor Daeyun signed for the Valorian Empire. Dozens of other leaders added their marks. It was historic, but not everyone was happy. As the ceremony concluded, warning came through. A faction of extremists from several species had formed a coalition. They rejected the alliance. They saw humanity as a threat that needed to be eliminated before it grew too powerful. An attack was planned. They would strike during the final celebration that evening. Hundreds of delegates would be in one place, including many humans. Security was immediately increased. But the threat was real and immediate. The celebration would have to be canceled or heavily modified. Princess Nari refused to let fear win. "We will not hide," she declared. "That is exactly what they want. To prove that this alliance makes us weak. We will go forward with the celebration. We will show them that we stand together." Emperor Daehyun looked at his daughter with a mixture of concern and pride. She had truly become a leader. "Very well," he said, "but with maximum security. I will not risk lives unnecessarily." That evening, the celebration began. The hall was filled with delegates, guards, and security systems. Everyone knew about the threat. Everyone was nervous, but they were there, together, showing that the alliance was real, that they would not be intimidated. Halfway through the evening, the attackers struck. They came through the service entrances disguised as staff. They had weapons and explosives. They meant to kill as many as possible, but security was ready. The battle was brief but violent. Guards fought the attackers while delegates were rushed to safety. In the chaos, one attacker broke through. He ran toward the main platform where Princess Nari stood with her father and the human delegates. The attacker raised his weapon. He aimed at Nari. Time seemed to slow. Taeyang did not think. He just moved. He threw himself in front of Nari just as the weapon fired. The blast hit him square in the chest. He fell. Everything went dark. Taeyang woke up slowly. Everything hurt. His chest felt like it was on fire. He tried to move and gasped at the pain. "Do not move," a familiar voice said. Dr. Huang appeared in his vision, her face tight with concern. "You took a direct hit. The medical team has been working on you for hours." Memory came back in pieces. The attacker, the weapon, Nari, he had jumped in front of her. "Nari," he croaked. "Is she safe?" Dr. Huang smiled. "Yes, you saved her. The attacker was captured. Everyone is safe now. Because of you." Taeyang closed his eyes in relief. It had been worth it. "You are very lucky," Dr. Huang continued. "The blast should have killed you, but the Valorian medical team used every advanced technique they have and—" She paused. "Princess Nari refused to leave your side. She stayed with you through the entire surgery. Over the next few days, Taeyang slowly recovered. The Valorian medicine was incredible. What should have taken months to heal took only days. But the real healing came from something else. News of his sacrifice spread across the galaxy. A human had thrown himself in front of a weapon to save an alien princess. It was broadcast on every channel, discussed in every forum. The image of Taeyang collapsing to protect Nari became a symbol. Public opinion shifted dramatically. Species that had been skeptical of the alliance now supported it. How could they not? They had seen with their own eyes what humans were capable of. Not power, not violence, but selfless courage. The extremist faction that had organized the attack found themselves isolated. Most of their supporters abandoned them. They had tried to prove that the alliance made everyone weak. Instead, they proved the opposite. When Taeyang was finally able to sit up and receive visitors, Princess Nari was his first guest. She entered his medical room quietly, almost nervously. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Better," he said honestly. "Still sore, but better." Nari sat down beside his bed. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she spoke, her voice thick with emotion. "You should not have done that. You could have died." "I could not let him hurt you," Taeyang said simply. "Why?" she asked. "I am not your species. Not your responsibility. Why risk your life for me?" Taeyang met her silver eyes. "Because you are my friend, and friends protect each other." "It does not matter what species we are." Tears formed in Nari's eyes. She reached out and took his hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for showing me what real friendship means." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just holding hands. No words were needed. A week later, Taeyang was well enough to leave the medical center. A ceremony was being planned. Emperor Daehyun wanted to honor him publicly. Taeyang tried to refuse, saying he was just doing what anyone would do. But the emperor insisted. The ceremony took place in the same grand hall where the treaty had been signed. Delegates from dozens of species attended. This time there were no threats, only celebration. Emperor Daehyun stood before the crowd. "We gather to honor someone extraordinary, not because of power or technology or wealth, but because of character, because of courage, because of compassion." He gestured for Taeyang to come forward. Taeyang walked slowly, still recovering. He stood before the emperor, feeling very small. "Taeyang Kim," the emperor said formally, "you saved my daughter not once but twice. The first time you healed her body. The second time you protected her life with your own. There is no greater gift than this." He held up a medal. It was made of precious metals and gleamed in the light. "I grant you the Star of Unity, the highest honor in the Valorian Empire. You are the first human to receive it, and I declare you a friend of the Valorian people forever." The emperor placed the medal around Taeyang's neck. The hall erupted in applause. Delegates from every species stood and cheered. Taeyang felt overwhelmed. He had never wanted attention or honors. He had just wanted to help. But looking out at the crowd, he understood. This was not really about him. It was about what he represented. A new way forward. A galaxy where different species could care for each other. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Taeyang found himself talking with leaders and scientists, all eager to learn about humanity. Many asked about establishing exchange programs. Others wanted to set up medical facilities where humans and aliens could work together. The alliance was growing. It was real now. Not just words on paper, but relationships being built. Ambassador Park found Taeyang in a quiet corner. "The Earth government has been in contact," she said with a smile. "They want you to return home for a visit." "They want to celebrate their hero," Taeyang laughed. "I am not a hero. I am just a technician who got lucky." "You are more than that now," Ambassador Park said seriously. "Whether you wanted it or not, you have become a symbol. The face of human-alien cooperation. That comes with responsibility." Taeyang nodded slowly. He understood. His life had changed completely. He could never go back to being just a simple medical technician. But maybe that was okay. Maybe he could do more good this way. "I will go home," he said. "See my parents. Rest a bit, but then I want to come back. There is work to do here. Real work." "What kind of work?" Ambassador Park asked. "Training," Taeyang said. "We need to train more humans in medical cooperation. We need to build real programs, not just individual cases. We need to make this alliance mean something practical." Ambassador Park smiled. I think that can be arranged. In fact, there is already talk of creating a joint medical vessel, a ship where humans and aliens work side by side, traveling to species that need help. They want you to help design it. Taeyang felt excitement stir in his chest. Really? A medical ship for the whole galaxy? Really? Your sacrifice showed everyone what we can accomplish together. Now we need to build on that. Months later, Taeyang stood on the observation deck of the new medical vessel. It was enormous, bigger than any ship he had ever seen. It had labs, operating rooms, living quarters, and training facilities. Hundreds of humans and aliens worked together on board. He had spent time on Earth with his parents. They had cried when they saw him, pride and relief mixing together. They could barely believe the stories. Their son, saving princesses and forging alliances. But to them, he was still just their boy. That grounding had been important. It reminded him of who he really was. Not a hero, just someone trying to do good. Princess Nari joined him at the observation deck window. She had recovered fully and was now an active leader in the alliance. She divided her time between political work and actual medical research. "It is beautiful, is it not?" she said, looking at the stars. "Yes," Taeyang agreed. "Hard to believe this is real sometimes." "It is real because you made it real," Nari said. "One accidental touch. That is all it took to change everything." Taeyang smiled. "I think it was more than just the touch. It was everything that came after. The choices we made, the trust we built." "True," Nari agreed. "You know, I used to think strength meant being the most powerful, having the best technology, controlling the most territory. But you showed me something different. Real strength is being willing to help others, even when it costs you something." "That is what humans have always done," Taeyang said. "We survive by taking care of each other. Maybe that is our real gift to the galaxy, not just the healing touch, but the idea that we are all connected, that we all matter." They watched as the medical vessel prepared for its first mission. Teams of humans and aliens worked together, checking equipment, reviewing patient files, planning treatments. It was organized chaos, but it was beautiful. "Where will you go after this mission?" Nari asked. "Wherever I am needed," Taeyang said. "There are so many species out there, so many people who need help. I want to reach as many as I can. And I will be right beside you," Nari said firmly. "We started this journey together. We will continue it together." Taeyang looked at her and smiled. She had changed so much from the dying princess he first met. She was strong now, confident, purposeful. But she was also kind. She had learned from him, just as he had learned from her. Together, he agreed. An announcement came over the ship's communication system. "All hands, prepare for departure. Our first mission begins in 10 minutes. Taeyang and Nari left the observation deck and headed to their stations. Around them, the ship hummed with life and energy, humans and aliens working side by side. Different species with different strengths, all united by a common goal, helping others, caring for each other, building something better than what came before. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, beginning its journey across the galaxy, Taeyang thought about how far he had come. From a simple technician to someone who helped change the galaxy. It seemed impossible, but it had happened all because of an accidental touch. A moment of connection between two very different beings. That small moment had rippled outward, touching millions of lives. Maybe that was the real lesson. Small acts of kindness could change everything. One person caring for another could shift the fate of civilizations. Weakness could become strength. Differences could become gifts. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy as strangers, uncertain of their place. Now they had found it, not through conquest or domination, but through compassion and connection. And that, Taeyang realized, was the greatest power of all.